I came out the womb, I was ready. Tell him, mama, you know I was ready. That's why you have it.
See how there's nobody around me? This is how it is in the field of play also.
Jerry Wright! Oh, what a catch by Wright! Touchdown, 49ers!
Between you and Talib on the field early in the game. I don't know. You gonna ask him because he didn't finish the game. Ice up, son. Ice up.
Dude right there said, hey, man, I was going to tell you, you're the best receiver in the game. I said, I know.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
Welcome to the Top of the Route podcast with your hosts, Justin Grandinetti and Mike Vannucci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Top of the Route podcast, episode 3. Have our first guest today, so we're really pumped about that. Should be joining us here in a few minutes. We want to just kind of recap this past week, see a few things kind of went down with the Broncos and the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle going to the Broncos. That adds a pretty significant dynamic to that wide receiver room. What's your take on it, Mike? Like, how are you looking at, how much does that impact their offense? Obviously, Bo Nix being a younger quarterback, like that's a huge time lift. They got some good dudes in the room. What's your take?
I just think they're doing things the right way, roster building wise. You're a rookie deal quarterback. I mean, this is the time to spend money around him.
True.
I think the world of Cortland Sutton as a player. Troy Franklin took a huge leap. Marvin Mims is a field stretcher, really good ball in his hands. The young kid they got out of the draft this year who was kind of moved into like a bigger slot role. It's a really good wideout room. And I think Waddle is probably a little bit underappreciated as a player for a few reasons, right? Like sometimes when Tua wasn't in the lineup, the offense really struggled to move the ball. I think that situationally, he was kind of a true 2 under Tyreek when Tyreek was healthy. I think he's a really exceptional player. He's really, really gifted down the field. He's attacking his vertical stem well. He's exceptional with the ball in his hands also. I just think he's a great addition to that receiver room. I don't know how it shakes out and who's the 1, who's the 2, who's the whatever, but I just think there's some really good pieces there that have a variety of skill sets.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And, people are going to have their certain criticisms about Sean Payton. Obviously, he's a great offensive mind. He's going to find ways to get these dudes the ball. And I think it's going to be interesting to see that, with the different talent in there. I saw some projected like depth chart stuff. They have him as like a starting Z is what people were saying, but you still got Troy Franklin, another guy. You have all these weapons, right? Still got, Evan Ingram at tight end. Like there's a lot of tools and pieces that you can work with. Should be a lot of fun to watch that offense grow. And they were able to run the football pretty well. So it's going to be exciting to see what they do going into, training camp and things like that. How about the week, man? What's, what you've been doing? How the session's been going? Obviously it's been a busy week. You were at the pro day. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, it was fun.
That too, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll have Dan on pretty soon. It was great to see Dan at his pro day. I was able to coach him in high school, and then when he made the switch, he went to Michigan out of high school as a quarterback. And then he made the switch when he transferred to Syracuse to tight end. Pretty recently, like that's a big change positionally as far as being able to be nuanced in your route running and stuff like that. The blocking stuff was pretty easy for him because he's an alpha personality. Like he takes everything personal. So you line somebody up in front of him and say, hey, you got to move this guy here. Like
he's going to get it done
very personally. He's going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Big, strong, powerful kid. So that wasn't shocking that he's a really good blocking tight end. But he really took a lot of time to develop as a route runner. So his ROA was really exceptional. No surprise, he tested very well. He's a really, really special athlete. 2 years ago, I think he had back-to-back games rushing for like 150 yards as a Wildcat quarterback. Right. So it was really special to see him because he's truly like a little brother to me. Yeah. So to see the joy in his face after how well he did and having so many scouts, single him out and come up to him to speak to him, it was really special to see. It really hit home. And it was great to see his dad there and see how proud he was of Dan. He's always been proud of him, but it's a different level when you get to see it in that setting. It was really special to see.
Yeah. Well, like Mike was saying, we're definitely going to get him on the podcast, man. It's going to be really cool to just kind of hear his side, of what that was like for him getting into that pro day, obviously having a good showing, having you there, having his dad there, like that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're certainly gonna pick his brain on the things that he had going on, and obviously wish him the best of luck going forward. He's got a real shot, man. That's exciting for you too.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I know him so well. Like he's built for it. He's ready for it. mentally. And I think that's a huge part of it. And as far as sessions, we got the college guys home for spring break. The high school stuff is running as per usual. Our assistant coaches are running the youth stuff as per usual. It's college guys home for spring break. It's been great. We do hard break day and releases on Tuesdays and then speak up pressure days on Thursdays for them. And then we have a kid from the Steelers that we work with that's home, Cole Burgess. He's been coming and training he lives in Albany. He drives down, stays here for like 4 days, and then drives back up for the rest of the week. And that's been great. He's really developed. He's come a long way from when we first started.
Gotta get him on there too.
Yeah, so he'll come on as well. He's a freak athlete. Played at Cortland, small school, upstate New York. Some of his route nuance was definitely something we had to prepare him for. But man, like he jumped like 11.7 at his pro day a few years ago. He's a freaky athlete, hard worker. So he's been a pleasure to work with. We got a few more weeks with him. He goes back early to OTAs because of the new staff in Pittsburgh. So just been busy, been having a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had a session there yesterday. For us, Tuesdays, we work our pressure step day. We just really focus on slants. Really wanted to, I was telling the guys, I really wanted to make sure that we were highlighting and focusing on the body language, entering, before our pressure step, before our break. So I took some time to just, film those guys in just some like 5 to 10 yard sprints so we can do our best to match that type of body language, arm cadence, head level, things like that. Watched it back, like really let them see it, kind of compare it to the route. Obviously, you're very similar. I mean, we take our 1 step to 2 step to 3 step, honing in on each step specifically to make sure that we are doing it the right way. So it was good. It was a good session. I had a few guys out there. It was windy as crap out here, but you gotta be able to adjust to the football when it comes, or it dies in the wind and things like that. So I thought that was good for them. But just again, like something I got from you, making sure those strides look and sound the same is paramount.
Yeah, I think it's really important. To film the sessions and then review them live is an invaluable tool. Whether you have somebody filming them or you have the kids film them, like we have a system where like you go after you take your rep, you get in the film line, you film the rep.
Yeah.
If there's something that we need to
I've been
review,
doing that.
I'm watching the reps from head up, so I'm right by the phone. And hey, come on over here, let's take a look at that. And most of the guys are watching them together, so they're all receiving the same coaching point.
Yeah.
But to be able to see it, like it's one thing to say, hey, you're leaking, or hey, you're chopping your stride, but then to be able to see it live immediately and then apply it in the next rep is so invaluable. Can't emphasize that enough. I can't recommend doing that with your guys. Anybody who's in the private sector, I can't recommend that enough. Is implementing some type of immediate feedback via film.
Yeah. The instant feedback is critical. I mean, as coaches, right, we can say things all we want. We can point it out and be as detailed as possible. But I think there's an element when the athlete watches themselves do it while you're giving them the coaching points. They're just able to absorb it better and kind of fix it and things like that. And obviously there's other, things that you can do, but the immediate feedback is key.
Yep, I agree.
All right, guys, like I said, hey, today we have our first guest. We're super excited about to let him in. We have the wide receiver coach for Colgate University, Joe Gerbino. Joe, what's going on, man?
What's going on, y'all?
Here he goes, man. What's happening?
Nothing much, man. How you guys doing?
Hey, living, man. Everything's excellent. Y'all just seen each other, so it's not too far off.
More the better, man. More the better.
Oh, absolutely. Your boy did his thing, huh?
Special player, man. He did. He represented well. He's coming off of an injury. He got as much training in as he could. I thought he represented himself, the university, very well.
Yeah, I was telling Mike, you had sent me the graphic, which I'll put up here for sure, of just some of his combine numbers. Pretty special, man. I mean, he definitely did his thing. And again, coming off an injury, we're certainly going to talk about him later because we'd love to hear more about him and kind of what he meant to that receiver room. But how's it been, man? How's Colgate been? Obviously, long time a coach at Utica, now at Colgate. Obviously, you had a little stint at Bethune-Cookman, but the Colgate receiver room, man, like how's it been over there?
Awesome plays, unique, high academics. Kind of gives you an old school feel of what college football was, where the guys are going to school here and they're getting a piece of paper that matters. Family atmosphere. Coach Fitz is great. I played for Coach Fitz. So I was part of coming back up here. My wife is from this area. We're recently married, expecting a little one on the way here. So
hey, congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so it made sense for family. But Coach Fitz has his 3 kids at practice. His wife is a rock star. I mean, if school is canceled, there's a bunch of basketballs dribbling around in our office. It's a cool atmosphere. The players that we get are unique. We have access to the whole country. We got 42 states on the roster. I mean, Trey, for example, the guy you were talking about, I mean, he's got a 3.85 in econ. here, and he's a good football player. You know, so these guys get challenged off the field as well. So it's all been good.
That's great. So obviously, hey, you've been long time, coordinator, coaching quarterbacks, now back in the receiver room. But let's just like go back a little bit. Tell us about. We want to hear about those playing days, Joe. Tell us about those playing days as a wide receiver. What were some of the things that you I guess valued as a wide receiver? What were some of the things that you felt like you did well? Maybe some guys that you emulated your game after. Some of your influences. Just tell us about some of the your playing days there.
Yeah, I was lucky. I went to a program in North Jersey. I went to Mala High School. Coach Caparelli passed it down to Coach Remo, to Coach Diaz, to Coach Zuch. It's the type of place where the head guy's there for 20 or 30 years, and then it gets promoted from within. It was before all the modern. We're all getting a little bit older here now. I'm getting to the point where guys I coached or coaching, and my reunions are I'm going on that 10-year mark now. So when I played for Coach Remo, it was like a modern wing tee. So like I was a wing back, getting handoffs, detaching in the slot, doing some different things. Probably had a freaking pin on pin pull a couple times. But went to Utica, it was Coach Fitz's first OC job. And obviously Coach Fitz has had a great career, and he's the head coach here at Colgate, won a national championship at Cortland. And Coach Fitz was the first guy who really taught me I remember Coach Fitz teaching me my first RPO with the pop and the bubble. Like, and that was starting to tread that way. And that Coach Fitz would let us have conversion routes based on zone man, middle open, middle closed. So Coach Fitz taught me a lot. And then one of my greatest influences was Riley Hill. He was my receivers coach. I think you've had him on a couple times. I think the last time you spoke with him, he was at Wisconsin Whitewater. Yeah. He taught me a lot. He allowed me to take over for him. And then Coach Fitz really taught me all the schematics. He allowed me to take over for him when I was 24 years old to be the OC when he became the head coach. Got his first head coaching job. So, yeah, those were heavy influences for me, no doubt.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, Coach Fitz is one of the best, isn't he?
I think what makes Coach Fitz great is he's the same guy every day.
Hard to do.
Yeah, he doesn't make guys play robotic or scared. He gives the guys freedom. Obviously, there's rules and there's coaching and there's details, but he gives the guys freedom to kind of be themselves. And I'm sure we'll touch on scheme and top of the route stuff at some point. But Coach, you go, Coach will play pickup basketball. He'll get mad when he loses. You go have lunch with Coach. You can talk about things other than football. Yeah, it's good. We spend a lot of time doing this and doing it with the people that like to do this as well. So when you can enjoy that company, that's really good too.
Yeah, Ziva, Burgess, Lap, like all those guys speak so highly of him. It's incredible. He's had a profound impact on all of them. I know they were a little upset when he was leaving, but it was completely understood. And the way they speak about him is really all you need to hear to learn about him as a person and a coach. So that's a testament to him. So that it must be great for you two guys to be on the same staff.
Seriously.
You were at Utica, Fitz was at Cortland. Like Long Island loved you two. So when you got when you guys ended up at Colgate together, like everybody out here was like, "Oh my goodness, Colgate's gonna be a powerhouse." So it's really awesome to see you guys coaching together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You mentioned guys being upset when you leave, and I think if you do it the right way, both parties are. I know he stayed at Cortland until he retired. He's not the type of guy that's I'm going here to go here. He's really, he's going to bloom where he's planted, and he's going to be where his feet are. So wherever he's been, he's wanted to be the best that was ever there. And it's funny, him and I spent so many years away from one another that I kind of forget how much stuff I got from him because I never coached with Coach. I only played for Coach, and he molded. He was such a good coach that everything he taught me, I retained, and that's just naturally how I wound up coaching. That's how good he was, that I retained it as an 18-year-old. And I'm still doing it when I'm, 34 now. And obviously you get better as the years go on. But yeah, if you do it the right way, you're going to miss the place you were at, and the place you're at is going to miss you too. That means you're, making the relationships, making the impact.
So playing under Coach Hill, what were some things like that he harped on a lot in that receiver room when you're in there? Attention
to detail. I mean, stance and start was just as important as blocking, just as important as releases and top of the routes. He was energetic. Like that guy is from Jacksonville, Florida, played D3 ball in Georgia, took a job as a GA in Central New York and Utica, New York. Was an O-line coach in Minnesota, wound up Wisconsin Whitewater. You talk about someone who loves football. Like, and I mean, we'd be out there at 6 a.m. In Central New York, it's dark, it's cold. And I mean, his blonde hair, he'd be jumping and bumping. Yeah, like even the tennis ball drills we were doing before practice, he was your biggest fan. Like you got what you emphasized and encouraged, and all the things we were talking about in the meetings when they came to the field, like he was going to praise you. He's going to coach you hard, love you hard, that type of deal. So I thought he did a really good job at that stuff.
That's awesome. when you were playing, Joe, like what was, I guess, what were some of the things that you really enjoyed about playing wideout? Like, what were some of your favorite aspects of playing the position?
Yeah, I think growing up with a basketball background too, I think if you can impact the game without the ball, if you could be an every down player, you could be a front side and a backside player, you could be an inside and an outside player. I think the more you know, the more you could do, the more you can do, the more you can help. So I think all those things are really good. Everyone talks about routes. Everyone loves the top of the route. I mean, hence that's what we're talking on. But I harped on that a lot. Like when everyone would ask you what's your favorite route, I would say the 6-step speed out, like the technical stuff, the field comeback. Like I love doing that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an important note that you stated about inside outside. Like it's kind of becoming positionless, right? Anybody you talk to is trying to find ways to get like their best guy in better situations. So it could be a 6'4" guy, but he's your best receiver. How can I get him inside, getting a free run at a safety, right? Like things like that. Did you do much of that with your guys this year? And how do you think that impacted their success? I know you did it at Utica a ton with some of those guys. Like Nate Palmer was like, wherever we could get him the ball, we were getting him the ball. He's another guy who we'll probably end up talking about. Some of the production Nate had was
insane.
Man, outrageous. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing with that? Are you short motioning guys? You just aligning them differently? You putting them in stacks? Like what do you guys been doing over at Colgate?
Really appreciate you guys bringing up some of these names and jogging my memory and doing your research. It means a lot to, talk about stuff like this with guys that you really know. Nate got me another job. That's how good he was. Nate had 20 touchdowns and Nate was a slot. And it was funny, me coming up, the shorter guy always played inside. He always played on the hash. And then Nate was one of the first guys where like, no, in 12 personnel, if he's one of the two best guys, why would you take him?
100%.
Yeah. So then he would start playing on the outside. And then it was like, okay, Nate had 6 touchdowns in a game. 2 of them got called back, but he caught 6. 2 of them got called back. And we weren't trying to get him the ball. It was just a natural flow of calling the game. So then it started going, okay, well, how do we make sure he's the first read on most of these things? And then he started getting some of the guaranteed touches. And then when Nate kind of registered some game plans, then we started putting him in the backfield. So 2019 LSU was doing that and, so on and so forth. I've played in systems where the receivers are left and right, especially at Bethune when we were playing with a lot of tempo, the receivers were left and right. Here, we're a little bit more X and Z, where your best one-on-one guy is going to be on the backside or be in the boundary a lot. Your speed guy is going to be to the field. Your Z is going to be off the ball. And then your slots to make the first guy miss guy. So if I had to describe Colgate, the backside guy or the X is the best one-on-one route runner. The H is the best guy with the ball in his hand. He's the best make the first guy miss guy. And then our Z is our track kid. This year for us was Winston Moore. He was Missouri State champ 100-meter runner. He ran a 10.56. So that was kind of the dynamics here. When I was at Bethune, it was right and left. It was more positionless. There was a lot of one-word calls. It was get lined up based on a landmark on the field. This is the field. This is the boundary. And then when I was at Utica, it morphed over the years. But yeah, when Nate was the guy, it was, sure, we were 10, 11, 12. In 10, 11, he was in the slot. In 12, he was outside. But then we had subcategories within the personnel groupings. You talked about motions. I think here at Colgate, we motion more than we have in the past with some of the offenses that we've been in. Again, at Bethune with the tempo teams, it's harder to motion as much. But at Utica, like if we weren't going fast, we were either switching a personnel grouping or a picture, whether we were trading a tight end, motioning a detached receiver and doing things like that. So I think all of them are important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's important to understand like the scheme is going to kind of dictate what you're able to do. And you're playing fast. You're not moving guys. Guys aren't running across we're getting lined up and we're going. That's a really important point is like the scheme is going to dictate how much you can do those things.
Oh,
for sure.
So, hey, transitioning now from, you've been in the quarterback room for since 17, earlier than that. So now, obviously, again, playing receiver, while you were in college, but now just transitioning from that quarterback room to the receiver room, like what was some of the biggest differences that you noticed, whether it was just like the types of personalities, how you want to coach them, like were there a lot of differences? Were there a lot of similarities? What were some of the things that you noticed?
Yeah, the receiver room is my baby. That's my roots. That's a position I played. I GA'd for 2 years, 15 and 16. I was the receivers coach. And then just naturally at the Division III level where the money's at, there's only so many full-time coaches. You probably have to coach the quarterbacks and be the OC, or you probably have to coach the O-line to make enough money to stay in this thing. So that was a natural progression for me when I became the OC, was to become the quarterbacks coach. And it's funny looking back on it, I've technically coached quarterbacks longer than I've coached receivers, but that was the position that I played and that was the position that I started in. In our system, the receivers have to know as much as the quarterbacks. We have a lot of conversions on most routes that we have. Our routes will change based on field and boundary, zone and man. They'll change based on where we are in the progression. So if we're in the first part of the progression, the route might be a little bit shorter. Or for the last part of the progression, the route might be a little bit longer. If we're to the boundary, our route might come right down our stem. If we're to the field, we might be hunting a hash, and it might look a little bit different. I could get into more detail on any of that stuff as well. But so for us, the quarterback and the receiver are always interchangeable. At the Division III level, when you only got 3 full-time coaches, like, you're really coaching the whole unit anyway. And that's not to say you didn't have good assistants and all of that, but they would turn over. They'd be in grad school. They'd be part-time. They'd be retired. So with Fitz and I being at the D3 level, him and I were never going to be on the same staff at the same time. And we always kind of knew once he got an opportunity at this level, which was inevitable, that this would happen again. But I'm glad over the 10 years that him and I got to evolve a little bit. I got to see from the quarterback room. And I think the more the quarterback and the receiver are on the same page, the better. Techniques and fundamentals and the attention to details to the position are great. So I tell the guys all the time, like, listen, I'm going to get you better at stance and start, releases, route running, all of that. But you're also going to understand where you are in the progression. You're also going to understand what coverages that we're getting. And that's the next level of understanding. I think Trey, his pro day was great, but you don't have 706 in 5 games just because you're quick.
Yeah, no doubt. The testing doesn't tell the whole story.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
There's more to it.
Those numbers are great.
20 touchdowns in a 10-game Division III season. Like, you don't just get that because, you run corners and curls well. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's gotta be
something else.
Yeah. Understanding, like you're saying, like, just understanding the whole offensive picture, the coverages and things like that is so important for these receivers. And, unfortunately, I don't know how much. I just notice a lot of guys, especially at the high school level, they're not really getting a whole lot of that. You know what I'm saying? I've gone out and said, like, I just think the wide receiver position is the most undercoached position in high school football. It's just how I feel, just because I don't know. I think you take a really good athlete, throw him out there, you just have him run fades and hitches and screens and let him do what he does. But there's so much more to it, right? There's so much more teaching that can go on. So they do understand how they need to attack certain coverages or where they are in the progression, so that how they run their routes. Like, there's so much to it. So for you to say that, I definitely appreciate that.
I think that's a really important nugget. Sorry to cut you off, Coach. For the listeners that are wideouts, that play wideout, is like, I'm a firm believer, and we'll tell the guys this all the time. Like, your job is to leave no stone unturned. Like, when somebody's explaining you as a player, there's no buts. He's really fast, but he catches the ball, but. So I think it's really important. Like, let's put another card in our deck and know the entire scheme. And that is the problem I have with guys that don't do that is that's just effort. Right? Like, you just need to put the time in, spend time with the coaching staff, whoever that may be on your staff, to help you understand it. Spend time watching film. There's digital playbooks now in a lot of places where there's nothing stopping you from putting that time in. There's no possible way that learning every position, understanding what each concept is looking to accomplish, it's going to help you. It's going to help you get on the field because now you're going to understand more spots. It's going to make you a better football player because now you understand the different ways that you can run your routes, right? Like you had just mentioned, some concepts I have more time to run the same route than other concepts based on my alignment. And that stuff is really, really important. And that's when you start being a Nate Palmer, having 20 touchdowns in a 10-game season, or being Trey. And he had 2 outrageously productive seasons. I just think that is a really important nugget that probably doesn't get spoken about enough. And it really just comes down to effort and how bad you want to do it. Like, if it's that important to you, you'll find the time to know the offense in and out.
Right. And sometimes you will have the guys that you could just throw hitches and fades to, but it's really tough to get that production, that pro level production, that national production, if you're only truly playing one spot. Teach it and learn it holistically and conceptually. You should know, I'm running a hitch, he's got a corner, I'm running a curl, he's in the flat, so on and so forth. And then from the coaching perspective, like, Coach, you mentioned it's one of the most undercoached positions. And you know what? Not to toot our own horn, but the job, you got to look sideline to sideline. There's a minimum of 2 on the field at all times, a maximum of 5. And most systems, you're going to have 3 to 4. And the 3 to 4 guys are all running different things. The H is a little bit different than the Y, which is a little bit different than the X and the Z, right? So you've got to see everybody at the whole time, stand front side, back side, and where I am in the progression and depths of the routes and the breaks of the routes and the conversions off them, so on and so forth. So yeah, no doubt. There's a lot that goes into it.
And that's why I appreciate, like, just being able to go out there and train, right, on my own, because, even in as a high school coach, you don't get a ton of time. I mean, we get time, but we don't get a ton of time. So being able to really hone these skills and teach the game, during these off seasons and stuff like that is so important for us. And it's great to be able to teach, because at the end of the day, right, like, especially these guys in high school, they are planning to go to that next level. How prepared can we make them? Like, are they going to be fully prepared to get there? Now, of course, there's going to be a transition, but the more that they know, the better prepared they're going to be. Like, they need to know the game. They need to know, coverages. They need to know things like that. So I want these guys to go to that next level, feeling confident and not just being like totally lost out there. When coaches are talking about coverages or certain concepts, like having that knowledge already going into that, it just helps. I mean, it helps. So like as coaches, whether, being a high school coach, taking that time to work with guys on your own, whatever, like that's part of our job. I think, I really want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to prepare these guys for that next level.
Yep.
Right. And it's drawn on the board a certain way, but it's on us and the players to get it to come to life.
Exactly.
So it's funny, day one, we draw it a certain way. It's an MOR and it's an out. By day two, well, if that's an apex defender, you're going to stem in a little bit. Well, if you've got a trap outside of you, you're going to stick it at the top a little bit. Yeah. Well, that MOR is not just get outside of him. If he's aligned inside with his eyes inside, I got to chase his eyes and get him to commit to me. I got to get him to attach. So it's like day one, it's a lot of solid lines. Day two, dotted lines. Day three, there's some red lines.
And the thing is, and Mike talked about this in the last episode, like just being obsessed with this crap. Like even just hearing you talk about that, like I mean, I geek out on that shit because it's so intriguing and interesting. Because as a wideout coach or as a wideout yourself, like you want to know as much of that as possible. Like you want to be prepared for everything. So to hear somebody talk about that, like if you truly are dedicated and obsessed with what you do, like you should love to hear that stuff. Like it should get you excited. You should want to ask more, like ask questions, get out there and run it. Like all that stuff, man, should be like the best stuff you're hearing, and you want to just indulge as much as possible.
Yeah, what you would describe as the art of the receiver position, right? That's the best part, right? So like here's the 10-yard out on paper, but where the cover defender aligns, what level he aligns at, the type of cover defender he is, what the concept is, those are all going to alter how the route is run. Right. And I think that's the best part about wideout play. That's the art of wideout play, is like you've got in hundredths, tenths of a second. You got, like Devontae talked about the Terminator mask. You got to put the Terminator mask and it's got to pop up right now what I got to do. Right? It's got to be second nature almost. Where like, okay, he's on my low hip, I got to wiggle out of it. He's on my high hip, I got to throw by. He's playing catch. My release plan is different than if he's apex, right? I think all these things are such an important part of receiver play. And like you had said, Justin, that's the part that is like, that's where we get to become like our own artist, because how player A might win it might be different than player B might win it.
No doubt.
Player A is a bigger body guy. He might take him off balance and run through that outside shoulder and snap it off. If player B is a smaller, shiftier guy, he might try and shift him, not get touched, take a little bit wider, and then snap it off, right? So I think that's the beautiful part of the wideout position is there are so many different ways to do it. You've got to kind of be your own artist and be creative and be obsessed with the craft to be able to do so.
Like I've told those guys forever, like, hey, look at me as the art supply store. I'm giving you the fucking paints, the easels, all this shit. Now it's your job to create. Like we're going to give you everything, all the tools, everything that you need, all the information. But like you said, everybody's different. So the ability to create on your own, that's where it gets really fun. So Joe, like obviously you're talking about just the different variations of your route. So like how much freedom do your guys have as far as like creativity in that stuff? Obviously, and like you said, if you're like a backside, you're maybe later in the progression, you probably have a little bit more wiggle room. But can you just kind of tell us like how you handle that, how you allow those guys to create?
Yeah, no doubt. Shameless plug, I guess, but I mean, this is one of the best systems to play receiver in. Like, we're going to have a guy with a comma in the production every year, most likely. And it's because of the freedom that these guys have. I think on the front end, everyone wants the freedom, but it's intimidating when there's not always a black and white, yes and no, true and false answer. Then on the back end, when you master it, it's something that you'll never go back away from. So, for example, number 3 and 3 detached sets for us, a lot of times we'll have like a search route. So some people will call it a seam, a skinny, a bender, a diagonal. For us, when we have a search route, we're telling him to aim at the field upright, and he's searching for space in between the hashes. And it might shut down, it might go flat, it might go high, it might stay up the hash. On our typical fade out concepts, that out, a lot of times he's got a 3-way go. He's running an option route, a shake. So he's going to attack the leverage of the nearest defender. He's going to hitch it up, break in or break out. within our base offenses, we have a lot of that. We're not just running drawings.
Yeah.
In the progression for curls, so the backside of your typical cross stuff, you've got that. And I've done it this way. I've done it 5 different ways. I've said, no, that's a curl. I've said, no, that's a dig. I said, no, that's a post curl. It's a post dig. Oh, for us, the better players you have, the better the coach you are. And the better trained they are, the more autonomous they are, the more you look like a genius. But it's really them just adjusting routes. But it's the same call. So when we have those curl routes on the backside of cross, and this is kind of a recurring theme now, but when they're in the boundary, they're going to numb the numbers. They're coming back down their stem. When they're to the field, they're going to hunt the hash. So it's going to look a little bit more like a dig. When they're in the first part of the progression, it's going to be at 12 yards because it's going to time with rhythm, 3 and a hitch with the quarterback. When they're in the last part of the progression, it's going to be at 14 yards. So if we're running a hang concept and it's got true OTB, we're reading squeeze, that curl's at 12. If it's the backside of cross and it's to the field, that curl's going to be a 14. And stuff like that is baked into the cake with most of our scheme and our offense from day one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you, what do you guys do preparation wise, practice wise? Because ROA does not present a solution for the kids, right? So like you could run ROA with all these choice routes and all that stuff. It really is negligible because it's all based off of the stimulus provided to them. Right. You guys doing more half line, more 7-on-7, more one-on-ones. Like, what are you guys presenting to the kids that affords them the reps to see it be on the same page with the quarterbacks? Is it the way you watch film? Like, what do you guys do that you guys are confident that we are going to be on the same page?
All right, a couple of things. That's a great question because we do struggle with ROA, although we will do it on the daily. We do our best to give these guys a look, some single stimulus, try to work it into the Indy. We do not do one-on-ones. Everything's going to be scheme-based for us, so it's never just one-on-one. The quarterback knows who he's throwing to, and that's it, and it's going to be man. We do 7-on-7 every day. We do have team pass periods. Here's one. I try to not coach the confidence or the freedom out of a kid. I try to not tell a kid that he's ever wrong. And I try to, in meetings, it's funny, I really don't talk a lot. The kids are doing most of the talking. What did you see here? Why? Yeah, the answer is usually it depends. It's not necessarily you were right or wrong. It's getting him to think autonomously and react live. Back to the cross concept, like that cross route. We don't always go under the Sam over the mic. We tell him to attack the nearest defender. If that defender's looking at me, I slip him. I'll go under him. If that defender's not looking at me and he stays put, I'll hop him or I'll go over the top. Slip is I for inside, hop is O for outside or over the top. And then we do give him a big middle component. So we let him read middle open, middle closed. We say big middle. So if that safety doesn't latch to him, he's not going to break flats at opposite hash. If it's a big middle, he'll take it. So this is a day one concept. We're talking about cross. Everyone runs it. And already just on the backside, I'm talking about all these different conversion routes that we have. So back to your original question of like, yeah, ROA is tough, but we're going to have somebody out there to give them a look best we can. We're going to rep it in Indy as well. A lot of times it's on the film. What did you see? Why? How? I'm not telling him you were wrong. And we are repping a lot in 7-on and in team. But a lot of our film, like, and I can't watch the whole practice with the guys. You know what I'm saying, fellas? Like, sometimes we'll spend a lot of time on one clip. Hey, Trey, this is what made Trey great. Like, Trey had good feel for this stuff. And maybe I wouldn't agree with his decision all the time. But as long as he made it 1,000 miles an hour and he was confident doing it and he could describe why he did it, we lived with that decision a lot of times. Here's one thing that Coach Fitz and Coach Boys do a great job with the quarterbacks is they throw guys on angles. Like they're not always saying, you know, the 7 cut of the corner route's always to the front pylon, back pylon, 25 at the sideline. Like in ROAs, they're like, hey, you got to be able to read body language. You've got to be able to read demeanor. Throw these guys on angles. You're just going to take 3 and blindly throw it to a spot. You're going to throw him on the angle that he's running. Because we all know that post isn't always the same. That deep over is not always the same. That cross isn't always the same. So I think the quarterbacks do a good job of that too. And the receivers do have a lot of freedom here and a lot of systems. Most of us are in. The quarterback's always right. Here, like Coach Fitz and Coach Boys are tough on them quarterbacks. And the receivers have a lot of freedom, especially if they're some of our better players, which more times than not, they will be in the system that we run. So it's a lot of times Trey was right. It's, hey, trust Trey, throw him on that angle.
And it's like, let him go, right? Like, let Trey be Trey.
Honestly,
don't let him do whatever the F he wants. He's going to have 4 vertical guys like that. So that bender, that number 2, that seam bender, middle open, middle closed. Some guys always dictate the release. Some guys are always like, hey, we're going to tell him if he's going to stop or we're going to tell him if he's going to cross face. So like us, like if we get quarters and that bender's going to cross face, we want it to be a high angle, we want it to be a post. If he's going to nail down on it, turn it into a dig, like we tell him to hop to safety. And it almost looks like a double move up the hash. So like Trey was good at that. Trey was good at that type of stuff. So like a lot of our base stuff, there was a lot of options to it. And the better they got at it. Hey, do you think you could do this? Oh yeah. Like a lot of times with someone like Trey, or you have someone like this, it's something they've always wanted to do, and a coach has never let him do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the one that they've always been afraid to ask, like, hey, can I do this? When you get someone like that, where I'm telling them, hey, you know that thing you've always wanted to do? Can you do it live? Can you do it right here? When you get someone like that, that's when they're going to get the production. That's when they're going to get the typical names that we've been talking about. Again, don't let them do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
When it's 4 verts, it's got to have 4 vertical components. But we do have like that cross route. We got to have a crosser get into the QB's vision on some type of high-low on the front side. But when you give them some freedom to it, all of a sudden you look like a good coach. Good players make good coaches.
They're more, I mean, let's be real. They're more engaged. Like that's the fun stuff. Like you're trusting that you're believing in them to make those right decisions.
Yeah.
And I think what you said before was really good too, right? Like when you ask them those questions and they have, a justification of why they made those decisions. I mean, sometimes, you do got to live with it sometimes, but like, they're giving you their response. Like you're asking them and they're giving you a detailed response. Like, how could you knock them for that? And you correct it if it needs to be corrected. But I mean, I think that's so awesome to watch guys like that be able to process things and make moves based on that and be able to give that feedback to the coach. Like, that's great. That stuff is great.
You guys mentioned JJ and Cole. Like we'll tag posts and we'll say minimum of 7 steps, right? And a lot of times our posts are high and skinny. We want them to take an angle where the hash intersects the end zone 40 plus. But for us, like if that post is by himself, it can bend if there's a post player. It could be fat, it could flatten, and it might look like a dig or a glance. If that post is off of a 7-man pro and it's working with something from the other side, some type of spear, we'll tell that post he can hop. So, because my first year ever coaching, was that post always had a cross face. A cross face to the point where you don't keep the height of the route, like, then what's the point? So we'll let them take the blind spot sometimes and hunt the hash late and hop the. So like, again, and the better the players, when you got guys like Cole and JJ and all the guys that we're saying, it's better. Because I know a lot of coaches are control freaks and micromanagers, and for reasons sometimes you got to tell the kids exactly what to do, and I get it. And I've been in those systems. But the longer they're with you, the more they've played pickup in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the post is a great conversation to talk about because you have big posts, right? You got a deeper shot. If he's playing heavy inside, like where are we trying to throw this ball? Like you said, we're trying to throw it up the hash, down that way down the field. Mm-hmm. If he's playing heavy inside, why try to cross face and then have to skinny out, right? Like if he's letting me run by him, well, when I stick my post, right, basically he's sitting in a chair facing the line of scrimmage. I'm running full speed towards the end zone.
Bengals.
We really should not be covered unless this kid is a supreme athlete and we struggle linearly. So I never understood the mandatory cross face on bigger posts. On glance, it's a different conversation, right? Like, because that's going to be thrown on time. We have to protect the throw. Bigger post, when I break to the post, he's now on my low hip. The quarterback now has all the space to throw to my high shoulder, and I'm open. And Cole and JJ are a perfect example. Like if JJ is running full speed, full stride, and you are inside, and you have a post, he ended a preseason game on it. Right? He ended a preseason game on it in the NFL. And you're going to stay inside on him. Well, he's just going to run outside and over the top of you, and you do not have a chance. Right? So maybe it is player dependent. Maybe it is maybe the guys that are more linear get more freedom to take the post over the top. But to handcuff a kid, it just doesn't make sense.
I hate to cut you off. Here's the point with JJ before I forget. So someone like JJ, do those posts work because JJ is that much better than everybody else? Or does JJ have an opportunity to show that he's better than people because he has those tools in his belt and he's using them and he knows when and how to use them? Because that's kind of the chicken and the egg, well, he can get away with that because he's good enough to do that. Well, no, maybe he's scoring because he's doing that.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's a really simple concept because you don't want a guy like JJ to stop his stride or lose his speed. So if he has to cross face, he's going to stop his stride and lose speed. Right. So I just think that if it's not impacting the timing of the throw, the concept, spacing of the concept, I think the less restrictions we have on kids, the more we let them play fast, the more we let them play intuitive, the better. And it sounds like you guys do a tremendous job at that, at Colgate doing that. So I think that the post is a really good topic to talk about in regards to a big post more than glance. Glance, I think, is a little bit more specific.
Right. And then 2 different routes because those glances are more like digs and they're that's based, I'm in a mesh. And then those posts, it's like, I think any route, it's who am I working with? Am I working with a teammate? Am I working with another route at the first, second, or third level?
Yep.
The 2 meter away from me, or am I by myself and I'm just working with the quarterback, right? Because that post, when it's by itself on a 7 or 8 man pro, it's like you want to get on top of the whole defense.
Yeah. By any means.
And it goes back to learning the full concept. Like as a receiver, I mean, this is your job to learn all that stuff, so then you can better help yourself out and help the offense as a whole. You need to know everything.
And now here's another conversation. Like this is great. I could do this with you guys all day.
Hey, that was the point, man. That's what we want. This is what we want.
We just wanted this to kind of go naturally, which is kind of what it does.
Like that post, like if I'm by myself, I'm on top of the whole defense. That post, if I'm with a sail route and there's something breaking out towards me, like, and I get press man, I get bump, I get something inside leverage, I'm getting touched within 5, like we'll let them outside release. And a lot of times when you outside release, they're going to use the sideline as a 12th defender and blah, blah, blah. And we got to fight the stack and hold the red and blue line and all that good stuff. But like sometimes we'll outside release that post and we'll hunt the hash late because it's a different catch point for the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like I've been in systems where that post has been called 3, 4, 5 different things. This is a high post. This is a big post. This is a working post. This is a whatever post. What I like about how Coach Fitz does it is you just got to know that post on 7 and 8 man. They're all called posts. Like you said, understanding the scheme is now my post can adjust a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to teach it. Lets the kids play more intuitively. I think that's fantastic. I got a question for you, Coach. And this is one of my favorite questions to ask guys, whether it's high school coaches, private coaches, college coaches. What is one thing that you feel like kids your room struggles with the most? Like, what is one thing that you feel like you keep returning back to, or it takes kids longer to become more second nature with? Like, for example, hands mechanics, hip drop, moving a defender off their platform. Like, what is one thing that you feel is the hardest thing to either coach or your team, your room needs more work at?
Okay. I've got a couple answers for you. I know you're asking me more the technical side, and I'll touch on that. And if I get too long-winded one way, bring me back. But like,
let it go.
Here, the guys, I mean, they're usually in the top percentage of their class academically, and they're good enough to be a Division I athlete. It's a very unique kid that comes here to the place that I'm at right now. So a lot of times our kids have never like felt failure or been wrong. So like a lot of times our kids, I feel like and I know this isn't answering your question, but a lot of times our kids, they fear failure because they've always had straight A's their whole life and they've always been one of the better athletes on their team in their life. So here, when they actually don't win a one-on-one rep, or, they don't remember a play in 30 seconds photographically, or they get a C on a test, like I feel like our guys are afraid to be wrong sometimes. Sometimes they can play robotic because they ask a lot of questions. The guys that ask a lot of questions don't want to be wrong.
Sure.
Whereas I don't want them thinking, is it a 6-inch step or a 7-inch step? Like I want them to like go outside and win.
Yeah.
My kids at the previous place, a lot of them have like never been loved before. They never had a coach tell them good job or I love you or hug them or have them at the house for a meal. So it was like they needed to trust the guy being hard on them all the time. And like everywhere you go, you kind of learn something different. From the technical standpoint, I think hip drop is a big thing because I think there's a new school and an old school. When I was playing receiver, it was, stay vertical as long as possible, rip my elbow, my shoulder open, point the toe. Right. And I'm sure you two were taught the same exact thing.
We were taught everything.
And there's still some guys that do it that way. And I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. Now with the whole drop, rotate, turn, run stuff, like I feel like that's different. You could tell who's been in a program or who's had private training by how they are at the top of the route, especially with curls, comebacks, hinges.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I feel like that's a big one.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of guys spend a lot of time on releases, and everyone assumes releases are man, and everyone assumes it's bump and run, junk jam, in my face now. And that's not it a lot of the time. That's third down, end of half, end of game, maybe a particular team, maybe if you're on the backside of trips by yourself. Like, I feel like a lot of guys major in that. They spend a lot of time doing that. They'll see that, 20, 15, 10% or less of the time in a game.
Correct.
Maybe not even on the weekly.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous point. Guys are spending 90% of their time on things they might do 5% of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well said. When it should be.
This is my biggest gripe, because it kind of has people telling on themselves. When you watch the games, like when you're watching the clips, you're watching game footage, whether it be the college level or the NFL level, you realize how simple the line of scrimmage is. Like it is, what is the fastest way for me to exit the line of scrimmage efficiently? Like period, end of story. Now, are there times where, you're running two short ends in a corner, concept can be called whatever you want to call it, and I'm the outside short end? Well, now I have more time. Now I can play with my release. Now I can play in my stem a little bit. But more times than not, what is the most simple and effective release possible? And when you put the game films on, you don't see a lot of this stuff that is being taught. It's speed release. It's come to balance or split, whatever you want to talk about. You might work a double up. You might move the line of scrimmage a little bit, but it's really, really concise and simple. And I think what you had said, like, we got to be working on the things that are happening more often in a game.
Yep.
And that's one thing I think that college position coaches typically do a very good job of. Is really simplifying it, because you guys have to. You guys are like handcuffed in what you're able to do due to the time restraints, which is why some of the best coaches and teachers are college position coaches. You get some good, you get some bad, just like in any profession, because you really got to consolidate things into a very short period. You have to be mindful of kids' legs, what's their soft tissue. So I think that's something that you guys do a really good job of, and a challenge. So when there is a really good position coach who does get development throughout the season, it's super, super impressive, because it's a hard thing to do.
Coach, I've heard you say this a bunch, but like, running the full route, right? Like, I could go a million ways with this, but like us, like our indie is before our warm up, and our receivers run a lot. And they've got, the catapults on their chest, and the GPS will tell you how fast and how long, and, all of that good stuff. But a lot of times in our indie, it's top of the route stuff. It's, it's not full speed things. And then the routes are the drills when we get in practice, when we're with the quarterbacks. Like for that 10 minutes, now we're running routes, and that's really our time to do that stuff. Simple is better. If my guys ever hear this, they're going to joke all the time. I say it daily, like, just run and break. Like, but just run and break.
Yeah. You don't got to overcomplicate it.
A lot of times the deception in the routes is built, especially if you're a conversion scheme. Like a lot of times the deception is built into the scheme, because if they're here, I'm going there, so on and so forth. Yeah.
But like you said, as simple as saying run and break, but it's like, and Mike's been saying this a bunch, but like how you enter that break, that ends up becoming it should be paramount. Because how you enter it can determine if you get that dude to flip his hips or turn or whatever and start to run with you and chase with you. And I don't know how much that's being focused on when, like you were saying, there's a lot of attention going in other places that aren't as prevalent and frequent. Like before you got on, Joe, like I was telling Mike, we were working pressure step slants yesterday. Part of the session was filming some of these guys, especially some of the guys that I hadn't had film on this, but like literally just sprinting like 5-10 yards, because I want to see your stride length and your arm cadence and your body language, because we need to replicate that as best as possible. When we run the slant, it should look the same. We don't want to alter things so that things, so we're giving away that we're breaking. We want to be in attack mode the same every single time. And it's those like details, which in theory, right, you're talking about running and how you're running is simple, but it's like so effective. And that's like, if we hone in on those aspects, those technical fundamental aspects, I mean, that's when you really start to see some crazy production. And like Mike was saying before, I mean, if you put on the tape, you're going to see what's necessary. Like what should be really focused on the most, and then kind of go from there. Not to say that the release stuff, like you were saying, is something that we don't do. You need to do it, but there are so many other aspects that are going to show up way more.
No doubt. And like, you guys do a good job. I've taken a bunch of stuff from you guys over the year, but something as simple as elbows clearing spine, last stride looks like first stride. If these guys could perfect glances at the right angle, says hitches with making the first guy miss, like speed cuts, like if they can perfect some things like that, like how many touches are you getting in a game? And then creating yak opportunities. And you guys do a good job talking of all these things, right? Like,
no doubt. I mean, think about it though. Like, let's say at the high school level. I mean, if you're a top guy, I mean, what are you getting? Maybe, 6, 7, 8 targets a game. Let's say you run 60 plays. Like that's a lot of other plays that you can help set up and do those things. And when it does come your way, you need to really make it count, because you may not get as many. And depending on the flow of the game, you may not even get that many. So it's like, are you doing things the right way so that when that ball does come your way, you're making the most of those opportunities? And I think repping it, repping those things, whether it's exits, whether it's how you break, whether it's, that attack mode, is going to increase those chances of increase the probability of you making the most of those chances, So obviously we were talking about Trey. We were actually looking at, just some of, the production in your whole room. You had one guy, Reed, almost had 1,000 yards. So that was a big time season for him. What's crazy is though, and I think Mike and I were talking yesterday, like you have a guy like Trey, who's what, 5'10", 5'11". Then you have a guy like Reed, who's what, 6'5", like having those different body types in the same room. How are you, like, are you coaching things differently? Like, do you have to cater to, like, do you feel like you have to kind of cater to him in a different way sometimes just because of maybe what his skill set is compared to, some of these other guys? Like, what are some of the things, like, and a bigger receiver did you see out of him that made him good? And what are some of the things that you felt like he really needed to improve on and just better?
That's a great question. And that's what's awesome about coaching receivers, right? Like, or any group, everyone can see the differences and the variations within their own rooms. And I'm sure every positional coach feels this way. But with receiver, like Swan was our ex. He was a 6'6" guy. I've had 6'6" guys in the past, but like he could really crack it at the top. He could really get his elbows above his eyes and high point the ball. Like he was sudden. He can run the tree. It wasn't like he was a hybrid tight end type of guy. Like he is a guy. He's a guy. Him and Trey, like all of us are going to have our non-negotiables where we're going to try to sharpen the sword and we're going to get these guys better with route running, at the first level and at the top of it. But I think what made all of these guys a little bit better and a little bit different was understanding where they were in the scheme. And I get that this is a recurring theme, but like Swan was going to run the big boy. Swan was going to run the big boy routes. He was going to run those big posts. He was going to run those glance RPOs. He was going to run access hitches. Trey was going to run all the option routes. And then our guy on the other side, Winston, the Z, like he was going to do all the lateral stuff. Like he was going to be in all the jet game. He was going to be on all the shot plays. But Swan was getting the ball at the top of the key, let him work. Like Swan was the one-on-one guy. Like if we were in trips and there wasn't two guys on him, the ball was going to go to him. And every offense is better if you've got a guy like that, because when you're in 3-by-1, if you can truly equate the numbers, you're good. If you let any defense take away half the field with one guy, then now you got to get in the bag. You got to get creative. You've got to scheme things. And now you're adding, more things to your calls for the week. You said this a couple of times too. Good players make good coaches. Anybody could have been the receivers coach at Colgate this year. Swan and Trey were out there. I looked like I was pretty good at my job, like it was, and that's what that was. I mean, with the differences in the two, we call it fundamental indie, that 20-minute period before dynamic warm up, before we really get going. Like we're going to work hand fighting. I don't want to get on a side tangent with hand fighting here, but that was another philosophical thing where we all were repping 2-hand clears and now everything's near hand, 1-hand clear.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for sure.
No.
Why do you feel like it's went that way? And do you think it's beneficial that we stayed away from 2-hand clear and versus man hand? Is there a time you do teach 2-hand clear? Is there a time where you don't teach 2-hand clear? Like, talk to me about your hand fighting philosophy.
This is great. I think hand fighting happens throughout the entirety of a play. It's not just at the first level. It's not just pass game. It's not just first press. I think we're very reactionary in our room. A lot of the things that we do are off of a stimulus.
It's great.
I'm matching hands. If in the event that they'll throw two, that's why it's evolved, because they're no longer throwing two. So if they were to throw two to win, then I would match it. I'm matching what he's doing. I'm reacting to what he's doing. So if he would throw two, I can match with two. If he throws one, I'm matching with one. He throws none, it's time to run.
Gone. Yeah.
Correct. So we're always matching hands. So if I can always, and then like how fast we want to keep stride length, we want to keep elbows clearing spine, we want to keep pumps. Like how fast can I clear a hand and get back into running? I don't want to keep my hand on the defender. I want to clear that hand, get back into running, clear it again if I had to, whether it's first, second, third level, inside, outside, whatever. Even in the run game, right? Even in the run game, when I engage in a block, when they go to block destruct, when they go to put their hands on me, why am I not clearing that hand like it was pass game and then refitting mine?
Yep. Yeah, I think that's great. That's great. Really, really love the way you explained it. Right. If he does jump jam, or I close the space, maybe I close the space, I expect him to motor and he doesn't. And now I'm inside handshake distance. He's more likely to shoot two because I'm threatening his space. Well, then we got to go 2 for 2.
Yeah, you got to.
That's when you'll get that's when you're going to go your double wipes or your pin chop or whatever you want to call it, whatever you teach. There's a bunch of ways to do it. The one thing that I keep seeing with guys is when we exit. I like to tell guys you're releasing to run, right? Like if I am exiting the line of scrimmage, running. We see a lot of blading in place. We see a lot of dipping the shoulder in place. The problem with that is I haven't left, right? Like whatever release I'm working, it is to set up a head start to the cutoff point, to where I need to get to. So the number one thing we're talking about is run. Like I am sprinting out of the release, pumping my arms, running. The only reason I would need any type of manipulation, whether it's hand fight, whether it's blade at the line of scrimmage, if I'm getting a jump jam. You're going to most of the time, you'll know who's jump jamming and when.
Sure.
Staggered feet, weight forward, down in distance. If it's week 5 of a season and this guy hasn't jump jammed all year, he's probably not going to jump jam now.
Correct.
Right now, you might if you get a type of defense, or you got a really good guy. He's got safety help over the top. Now he might jump jam and trail, but typically no. We see a lot of doing stuff in place at the release point, where now I'm not leaving the line of scrimmage. I'm worried about blading or something when we want to sprint out. And then we see a ton of outside. So I'm outside releasing and I'm using my outside hand across my body. And that's a lot of stuff we have to coach out of kids, because like you had said, I need to run. I need to get vertical. I need to clear these hands. I can't run linearly while crossing my body. I definitely can keep my forward momentum. You say using our man hand, whether it's pin, whether it's chop, whether it's chop, whether it's shed, whatever you want to call it. Coaching man hand combat when releasing has been tremendous. Coaching running out of the release has been tremendous. Something you had said, sorry, Just.
No, you're good.
The in stem, like I think that is probably one of the most undercoached parts of wideout play is in stem combat. We did a big study, me and one of my assistant coaches, on guys like Puka, T. Higgins, Mike Evans. And there have been so many reps where if you took a still shot of about 10, 15 yards down the field, you would bet $100, $100 million, whatever you want to bet, that the DB's winning the rep. But they found a way with combat in stem to separate, whether it's punch the pec, whether it's pull the arm through. And I think that's a really undercoached thing. I think it's got to be consistently coached. It's a constant battle, whether it's hand fight at the catch point, whether it's hand fight in the stem to stack. I think there's a misconception right now about the release has to be a kill shot, right? No, let's get off the ball and run and get this guy to run and chase. We could win in stem, we could win at the catch, we could win at the line. But I think what you had said about the constant hand fighting is super important.
Yeah, no, that is a great point you made, Joe. And then you're specifically having, let's say, certain times at Indy where, hey, they're working that hand fighting up the mid stem and all that. So how often are you guys doing that?
Yeah, we're doing that daily. So I'm lucky. I get 20 minutes.
That's great.
I get 20 minutes a day. But now here's how I like that Coach Fitz does it. I don't know if you guys have been in programs like this, but the whole pre-practice thing. Like everyone's trying to get 3 indies nowadays. You're trying to get the pre-practice, you're trying to get the actual indie during the practice, and then you're trying to get something post-practice. I've been in programs where pre-practice was a competition, where you're out 10 minutes early, you're out 20 minutes early, you're out 40 minutes early. And it's, this group's out here. Now this group's got to be out here. And now it's becoming a competition of who could be out there first, who could be out there the longest. And then all of a sudden you're bragging that you're only at practice for 15 periods, but you were really out there an hour before the practice started and an hour after the practice started. And it's 3 hours after you cut it anyway, right? So like, I like how Coach Fitz, our practice starts, there's a 20-minute fundy block, but that's part of practice. Like period 1 is the first period of that fundy. We get 20 minutes of fundamental and then a team-wide dynamic warm-up where we're getting in the team and all the other stuff after that. And then after the dynamic warm-up, our indie on paper is a 10-minute routes on air session or something like that with the quarterbacks.
Nice.
On something specific for that day. So in my 20-minute block in that fundy, every day there's going to be some type of hand fighting, some type of blocking, some type of catching in there.
Yeah, that's great.
That's all.
Hand fighting is reactionary though. So if it's at the first level, second level, third level, if it's at the third level and it's in that catch, that's your chicken wings, your throw bys, your high points, your over the shoulders, your back shoulders, your things of that nature. If it's at the first level, but I'm never saying you're working 1, 2 or none. I never say you're working a split, a hezzy. Like they're reacting to one hand being thrown, 2 hands or no hands. They're reacting to press bail. They're reacting to having a motor to close, whether it's 3 yards off, 5 yards off, whatever. It's like you said, Coach Vanucci, like you're going to know if you're going to get junk jam. And a lot of times, like we're evolving to what we're seeing. You adapt or you would die. So like corners aren't really throwing 2 hands anymore. Why? Because like there's not a lot of true cloud corners anymore. Teams that's a run pass read based on the end man. And if the back's away, they're going to send him. It's more like a blitz corner, especially in the boundary. If it's backside of trips and it's a quarters team, they're playing cone. So yeah, he's pressed, but the safety is going to help based on an inside or an outside release, right? So like we're adapting to what we're seeing. So we evolve as defenses evolve and vice versa. And it's cyclical. And you guys know, coach, it's every day and it's first, second, and third level.
When you do that, are you, are they working a release and the hands are coming, or are they just like they're having the freedom to do whatever release they want, and then the hands are coming upon the exit, potentially forward, potentially, or is it just kind of take off and run?
We'll do both. So sometimes it's out of release. With my inside guys, so you were asking, this was a question in the past, and I think we're doing a terrible job. I don't think we've directly answered any questions asked. I think we just get talking about a bunch of different things. It's awesome to be with you guys, man. Inside and outside. So like the difference between inside and outside guys. Outside guys, they're gonna work releases a lot. The inside guys, it's a lot of second level stuff. So like working that cross, there's an inside leverage defender. Like I'm gonna slip or I'm gonna hop him, meaning I'm going inside or I'm going outside. And then if I'm going outside, that means he's probably looking at me and I'm probably gonna have to clear. If it's high, I wipe. If it's low, I hammer. Even in stationary catches, like I like on stationary catches having elbows clearing spine pumps, and I like having a crayon. And I like putting it high for wipe or low for hammer. And then I like incorporating a stationary catch there, where it's late, high, aggressive hands, whether it's over the shoulder, back shoulder, or high point, plucking and turning.
Yeah, I think what you said about the slot is like really an important thing. You're primarily a slot guy. Like you're probably never, unless you're inverting and you're on the ball, you're never hitting a level 1 release, right? Like it's never happening, right? Like you need to consistently be gaining ground now, because even if he's playing press, like there is probably about a 2-yard buffer between the two of you. Now you're outside of handshake distance. Now we need to start working openers and closing space and things of that nature. So I think that's an important thing to note for any of you guys that are heavy slot guys. Like get comfortable closing space and working your exits or releases from there. Whether it's catch man at 4 or 5, or whether it's press in the slot, which is you're still gonna have to gain some ground. For sure.
So Joe, going into year 2 with this group, and I don't know, I mean, obviously I'd love to hear you kind of expound on some, like how many you guys have returning and things like that, but what's an area that you feel like for this group, you'd like to see improve on the most? Like what's a main focal point for you guys in this kind of spring ball to off season to preseason, as we get closer and closer?
Yeah. So some of the guys you mentioned, we had to play half the season without Trey anyway. So like we're going to miss Trey. He's dynamic. He's one of a kind, but we had to play 7 games without him. So we kind of felt and saw what that looked like. Swan really picked up when there were some injuries in the room, and he really became the guy. Swan, hot commodities in the ACC right now. So Swan had a couple suitors in today's day and age of NIL and all that. We only lost one portal guy, Swan being one of them. And I understand why. He was saying no to some early offers that were at a certain price, and then it got to a certain point where it was comparable and the price was high enough that, awesome kid. I hope we prepared him well enough, and he'll do really well. So we have the rookie of the year in the room. He was a Jerry Rice finalist, Matt Fogler. Fogler will probably take that place of a Swan. Winston Moore, our Missouri State champ 100-meter guy, he tore his ACL in week 7 versus Georgetown. He's dynamic. He's going to be playing Trey's spot somewhere in there. So if he can get like half the production of Trey, will probably be pretty good. Step up guys, my juniors. I've got 2 juniors in the room. Cam Phillips from Virginia, bigger body, big slot type of guy. And then Coach Vanucci's guy, Chief Montalvo.
Love him.
Chief's going to have great
worker. He's a worker, man.
We got a lot of them too, Coach.
That's
like
great.
Yeah, our first-year guys becoming sophomores. Fogler being one of those guys. PJ Holmes being from Malvern Prep, Philly kid. And then we've got some good first-year guys coming in. We've got a big class. So we'll usually hold between 11 and 14 in the room, somewhere to that regard. Yeah, we've got guys that you've seen before that'll show up in the box score, and we've got some new guys that'll step up. Our Holy Cross game, great game, back and forth. We were able to pull one out. It's been a long time since we won there. Guys like Cam and Chief had to play in that game due to injury. Trey was down, Swan was down, Winston was down. So you saw a lot of Fogler, Cam, and Chief. And those are kind of the guys that are becoming upperclassmen in our group.
That's tremendous that they were able to get battle tested, because now they get to come into this year a little more confident. Game slows down, right? The more you play, the slower the game gets. So that's going to help the team a ton.
Are you looking for anything out of this group as far as just like an area of improvement, anything that you'd like to see them just get better at? I mean, obviously there's, each kid is going to have their spots, but just from an overall group standpoint.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry you asked that the first time.
No, you're good.
To it, but it's a recurring theme for us doing that too. But for us, I think the fundamentals remain the fundamentals. Like,
have to.
You talked about closing space, and it's our job to simplify things. Over the years, man, it would take me 10 clips to describe this. Can I make it 5? Can I make it 3? Can I make it 1? It would take me a paragraph to describe this. Can I make it a sentence? Can I make it a bullet point? Right? So like for us, if we were to simplify this, you talked about closing space. Can I close space? Can I fight hands? Can I hold a landmark? Isn't that playing receiver in a nutshell? Isn't that route running in a nutshell? Closing space, fighting hands, and holding landmarks, right? But like our get offs, I think that's important. How do we get off the football? Our overall understanding of scheme. Because again, like if you can only be the slot and 11 personnel, you're going to miss some opportunities. Can you block? Or not even like, are you physically, I don't care about the size, but are you a willing blocker? So I've been around guys that like, right. I've been around guys that like, well, coach, we have to RPO on every play. Well, like if coaches feel handcuffed, right? Like that's tough. If players feel handcuffed, that's tough. So are you a willing blocker? I think that's important. Do you understand the scheme? Like, can you play front side 1, 2, and 3, backside 1, 2, and 3? Like, and if you're going to learn it once, why make yourself learn it twice? The first time you're learning it, can't you learn what 1 and 2 are doing? Especially like you said, with all the digital resources we have, with all the time we have with winter and summer and spring ball and training camp and things of that nature. But us personally, coach, from last year, I think we can definitely get better on the top of the route with some things. I think running and breaking, we're pretty good. I think with zone, we're trying to find windows. With man, we're trying to break windows. I think our guys understand that with components built into things. Hand fighting could always get better. I thought we got a lot better last year, guys, at like tough catches. And
that's awesome.
Some of these guys could probably wake up and make tough catches. You could probably recruit tough catch guys, but I think because we repped it daily, we were repping over the shoulder, back shoulder, high pointing. We were repping things in traffic, running a line and turning away. I think the guys, because they were getting their touches, I know the guys are using the multicolored, the tri thing. Guys are using tennis balls. Guys are using rugby balls. Like, and you know, we could do a whole segment on that too. But I think everyone just assumes receivers can catch the ball. That's the first thing someone's going to yell at from the stands.
Yep. Every single time. The catch mechanics are so important. I mean, they have to be. You have to work it specifically. And you know, we talked about contested catches before, and it's not the tunnel. It's literally having a body running alongside you, being alongside you, feeling that presence. That's what's going to get you ultimately comfortable when you're in that exact moment, at that exact situation in a game. All that stuff, like, to each their own. But having an actual body, I mean, even you could take, like, for instance, right? You could take a normal drill. Like we were talking about pressure step before. You take that 1-step drill, right? Guys, nobody around you doing the 1-step. You put a body there, dudes are leaning into it. They're shortening their stride because it's just the presence there. And that's why it's so important to implement that in your drills whenever you get an opportunity. They need to feel that. And when they do, and when it becomes so like, hey, we're so unfazed by it, the confidence in the catching increases tremendously.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we do a ton. A ton of contested catch. Guy on one side, a guy on the other. Half yard out in front. Half yard out in front. Damn near shoulder to shoulder. Make it really uncomfortable because of how restricted the space is, and the brain perceives the catch so differently. Eventually, it'll start tuning out whatever's around.
And that's what we're looking to get to, right? We're looking to get to that point where they're totally tuning out whatever's going on next to them, and they're just solely focused on their proper mechanics, right? Catching that football and doing whatever with it after. Huge.
Yep.
It's huge.
And the simpler the drill, the better. I mean,
Come on.
catching drills who are
Preaching to the choir, baby.
Right. all the everyday drills that we do, they're partnered up. So, you know, and in spring we'll have 8 or 9 guys, and every year we'll bring in 4 or 5, and we'll get the total number of the room. But if there's 8 guys in the room in the spring, 4 guys are going on every rep. That you're cutting the reps in half, because even the guy chasing or pursuing is getting that relationship too. It's going to feel what the other side is feeling and giving a look, whether it's chicken wings, throw bys, holding the line for over the shoulders, it's some type of pursuit or returning away from a defender. All of that is good. Even if the quarterbacks are warming up and we're down there really early, like getting full extension on a catch, seeing it all the way. First day of every semester of every team I've ever been on. What do you catch with? Half the room says hands, half the room says eyes. You guys know the answer, but like just training eye discipline, training ball security, ball me man relationship, having the ball in the correct hand when I'm turning. Those are things that you got to teach even the best guys on a consistent basis.
And I think the consistency of how you're going about it, right? Like they need to hear that constantly. If you want your head and eyes through the football and the catch, any single time there's a slight flinch, it needs to be mentioned. Like it has to be. You know, the mechanics have to just be on point all the time, and it only get there by, you know, obviously making it simple enough for them to understand, but then being consistent with your approach on how much you correct it and coach it up.
Yeah, Coach, I want to make a note of what you had said about like catching for the quarterbacks. There's no, like, when you're on the field, training, practicing, whatever it may be, catch is 3rd and 8. right? Whether you're stationary for your quarterback, like there's no looking to your buddy as you catch the ball. Like you're wasting reps, you're wasting time. There's no catch on the field that is like you're at the turkey bowl in Uncle Barry's backyard. You know what I mean? Like it is all like the once practice starts, once training starts, once whatever happens, like it is all in. And the ball is the most important thing, and we need to catch it like that. So there are no warm-up catches. Catching's always 100%. Catching's always 110%. Period, end of story. There's a standard to catch the ball. Every time a ball's thrown to us, we're trying to hit that standard. No matter if it's catching for the quarterback, standing still, doing a drill, running a route. And I think it's important that you mentioned that.
Which that's a great point. And not that like the quarterbacks are warming up and you're there for extra. You're not getting in their way and you're not disrupting their warm up. But this goes a long way. Just a little bit of creativity, a little bit of focus. Like, does every pass have to be straight on? And you're not adjusting what the quarterback's doing, but like, can you add a pump? Can you add a tuck and a turn? Can you add a different profile of a catch? Right? Like just little things like, can we make sure it's full extension? Can we make sure it's with our fingertips and our eyes? Like,
can you walk at it? Can you just be moving? Can you do anything? Like I just think that's just the problem with the jugs right now. Is like everybody's talking about getting on the jugs, getting on the jugs, getting on the jugs. I've seen a million guys get on the jugs and not get better at catching. Because when if there's a time and place, like you are working hands mechanics, you're getting touches, that's not to say it's useless, but there's better things to do. Like when are you ever just like standing there straight looking at a ball? Right? Like it just doesn't happen a ton. So I think there's just adding a little movement, whether you're moving laterally, whether you're walking towards the jugs, it changes everything. It changes everything.
It does. And when you do those different types of movements, the mechanics still have to remain the same. So like whatever they're doing, like you said, laterally, going at the ball, like maintaining the proper mechanics every single time, that again, that needs to be the focal point. So when you start to add those other aspects, the mechanics still stay the same. Like Mike said, the standard is the standard every time.
What's funny is I think the toughest catches are also the most routine ones, and they're the ones that we coach the most, where we always want a ball-me-man relationship. We always want to be comfortable letting a ball fall over our outside shoulder. But those are the ones that are the toughest because they're actually going to wind up crossing our eyes, right? So it's like just little things like that. Like every day these guys are getting over-the-shoulder catches. Every day these guys are fighting the sideline. So like you'll hear that every day in practice for us. Like, do not run out of bounds. Obviously, time specific, game plan specific, situationally specific, but like don't run out of bounds and be comfortable with the ball falling over your outside shoulder. Be comfortable with when you turn, just like you're dribbling. If I'm left, it's in my left hand. If I'm to the sideline, it's in my sideline hand. But even beyond that, I'm running a glance breaking in and right, like I want to turn away from the defender when I'm catching these passes. So like those are things on the daily, like turning away from defenders, where's the ball in our hand, letting the ball fall over our outside shoulder, fighting sidelines. And again, like when we talk about things to get better at and things that we can rep and the simplicity of things, like if you've got simple drills for those things, those should be on the daily, especially if your guys could do it on their own when you're not even there.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So Joe, what is, if you had to, so obviously we talked about a lot of drills and like you said, you got a lot of your fundamental drills and a lot of stuff that you do on a daily basis. If you could pick one or two, and I know it's that we're just throwing a hypothetical, right? Because we have a ton of stuff that we want to work, but if you could pick like maybe one or two of your favorite drills, what would they be?
Has to do with hand fighting and has to do with stemming. Because I think those are the things that pop up the most. Because whether it's zone or man, I'm going to hand fight, whether it's at the first, second, or third level, like we talked about. And like, I think the mentality thing too, I think one that I would add to that is blocking. Because I think it's a selflessness thing. It's a good teammate thing. It's a half of the game thing, right? So I got asked by a bunch of scouts evaluating our guys this year. Like I've got asked straight up, like this was a question from people that have higher roles than me. Is he a diva? Like, and I got asked that in regards to Trey. And like, it was funny because I was saying all the coach cliche things when I was talking about Trey because he was so easy to talk about. It was hard for me to like find ways to talk about him in ways that actually meant something. It didn't sound like I was scripting it. But like Trey had no diva in him and he was willing to block. And that's something where he came a long way, was putting his hand on alley defenders. And I think in today's day and age with drills, you see the med ball a lot and you see the low to high a lot. And I think that works in the trenches. I think we're a little bit more old school here with 2x4s and sleds, where it's tight hands, my screws under his screws, my hands inside of his hands. So like we had a sled progression that we would hit and touch on the lot too. We were going to RPO 70% of the time, but even on the RPO throws, like we called them RSOs for the screens. They weren't down the field passes a lot. So like those bubbles, those now screens, like even though they're throws and even one of us are catching it, like that catch is dependent. That's a separate play from the zone or from the gap scheme. That's me and you. That's me and you running pick and roll.
Yeah.
Like if you're on the perimeter and you're catching the now, or I'm catching the bubble. That's purely dependent on the other guy. And we have a saying in the room: one's got to be blocked, one's got to miss. But it's my job to make one miss, and it's your job to block one. And like we've got to rep that stuff. And little things like if we're 3 detached to the field and we're running a bubble to number 3, like number 2's got a J step. So like getting those bags or those step overs in a T and getting those guys to take one wide outside step without false stepping or stepping behind it or crossing, like those are all important. Like button up defenders. Defensive guys talk about run fits a lot, but they don't talk about them in the perimeter a lot. Right. So like if we can mess up perimeter run fits, that's
huge.
That's how you get some big plays.
Yeah,
you get
that's
some
a great point.
explosives.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So I think freaking hand fighting 1,000%, blocking 1,000%, because those are going to be things that pop up all the time. Now, listen, the best block in football is, running somebody out of the screen and we get man, but you got to be certain it's man and you may or may not get it all the time. So you've got to teach these guys how to engage.
Yeah. And like you said, man, it's an effort thing, man. It's just being willing to do it. Like, honestly, I'm a firm believer, we're going to teach blocking techniques, but if you took somebody off the street that had no clue about blocking on the perimeter and they just had a willingness to do it and they just had a refusal to lose, they're going to be productive. Plain and simple. The other stuff like teaching the techniques, that's just going to, obviously that's going to get them over the top, but just be willing, man. Be willing, give effort. These are your teammates at the end of the day. You want them to do it for you. So return that favor.
I think what's tough about receivers sometimes too is the amount of space, the type of athlete we're blocking. A lot of time our block is not defined. We may have this guy or that guy, MDMs, especially I'm a number 1. A lot of times too, it's like, it's not defined, right? So I may have this guy, I might have that guy, but a lot of times you're not working with somebody either. You're not in combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's a one-on-one, just like the backside of trips running a fade ball. Because a lot of times that bubble that now is going to get out because of that one-on-one, if we want it or not. And again, it don't got to be a kill a lot of times, but right spot, right time, and positioning myself to do that. So can I surround the target with my feet? Can I deliver a blow when I get there? Can I get leverage? And a lot of times, so for us, we're not picking shoulders. I think that makes it tough in the receiver room a lot too. Because I remember being a young player and I was like, Coach, how do you want this block? Like, am I inside? Am I outside? Like a lot of times we're not declaring leverages when we're blocking. Because a lot of times, especially in spread systems, we don't know if the running back has the ball or the quarterback. We don't know if the screen's going to get thrown or not. We don't know if it's going to bounce, climb the ladder, get to us, and maybe it gets to us 40 yards down the field, or maybe it gets on me right now, right? So like I got to be able to crack a safety, or I got to be able to block a corner 30 yards down the field sometimes. So the more situations you can put those guys in those regards, the better.
Yeah, and wideouts, we need to take that shit personal. Like you got a one-on-one block with somebody.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. There might be nothing more personal in a football game. Like, to be honest with you, you got a safety that you have to block, and it's a matter of a play gaining 2 yards or gaining 22 yards.
No doubt.
Blocking is an extremely selfless thing that you're doing for the good of the team. But man, you got to take it personal. It's so paramount. Like what you had said, there's technique, like for sure,
no doubt,
that needs to be worked. Well, it could boil down to like, who wants it more? Not to make a cliche, but like who really, like, it is a personal battle that you can't lose focus. A lot of blocking is lost because you lose focus for 1/10 of a second.
Yep. And how much can it set the tone of a game, or how much can it like just impact? First of all, how much can it impact yourself when it's actually time to run routes? So now these run plays have been going on. And as that receiver, man, you're teeing off and you're getting people pinned and blocking and putting people on their back. Do you not think they're going to give you maybe a little bit more space? Do you not think they're going to now in the back of their mind be, hesitant or worried about you coming at them again and being physical? Like all that stuff goes into play every single time. And I think at times, like we don't realize that, it is such a chess match. Like do yourself a favor and set yourself up for those times, like especially later in the game when it's critical. What you can do to set yourself up a lot of times is based on how you are in the run game.
Yeah, you see it now with like Puka is probably the main beneficiary of it. Like Puka inserts all the time in the run game, and now he's running deep overs from inserting. Like it's a nightmare. Like it's a nightmare.
Yeah. And that's that McVay stuff too, because remember, Cooper Kupp was doing the same thing. And again, these are not big dudes, but they fearless, selfless, and just refusing to be beat. Like you said, Mike, taking it personal. They're going in there cracking linebackers and all that. And then, now they're slipping through and getting these explosives. So,
and those guys, those names that you mentioned have had longevity, right? Have signed multiple deals on winning teams. So
no
it
secrets.
comes with
Not
that.
by accident. It's not by
Yeah,
accident.
it's no secret.
And everyone knows the Rams guys are doing that. But how about someone like a Malachi Tony at Miami? And just the frame, his frame is different than a Cooper Cup or a Puka, and it's at a different level and a different scheme. But when you see him butt up people, and the original combo wasn't even getting into the box and inserting on box players, and that's what those guys are doing. Like if those guys, if someone like Malachi Tony could do that and then take tunnel screens 80, like 100%. Some of the tougher things we ask, like a slot to the field with some type of perimeter run to you, it's you and an overhang player. That's tough.
It's not easy. And it doesn't always have to be, that's the thing. It doesn't always have to be the pancake or kill shot. It's just got to be effective. You got to be between him and the ball carrier at the end of the day. Now, I would suggest going in there, being physical, being aggressive. This is a violent game. Everything about us should be violent, including how we strike people. But, at the end of the day, just being between him and the ball carrier is what matters. And as coaches, we need to make that such a point. We need to make it, super important they need to know how important it is to us, so then they can take more pride in it. Because at the end of the day, if a kid shows up tomorrow to come play receiver here, I don't have to get him excited about learning a release or a route or breaking and things like that, but I got to get him excited about blocking, plain and simple. And I think, one of the things that I've prided myself on here is doing just that. And I make it a point, like they just, and we got to get that. We got to get, because you have to. This is part of the game. It's part of the game. It's the selfless act, but it's part of the game. It's part of your position. It's not just about catching the football. It's not just about running routes.
It really equates to like what type of competitor you are. Because it really just boils down to this. If the question is it going to help the team win? Is it going to help us win? And the answer is yes, then it doesn't really matter what you are asked to do. Right, you're gonna do it. If you are the type of competitor that refuses to lose, like Kobe spoke about his 81-point game. And so what were you thinking about? He said absolutely nothing. He said we were losing and I wanted to win. Right, he's a ultra competitive person. That's really what blocking comes down to. 100%. Right, I know that if I block the alley defender on an outside run play, this is probably gonna gash. It's probably gonna be a big play. It's gonna probably help us win, and that's literally all it comes down to, essentially.
So I break out them car tires, baby. Throw out them car tires. Then get one-on-one tug of wars and fight, literally.
I joke with some guys too, though. It's like sometimes, we don't want any selfish people, right? But sometimes the selfish guys aren't even good at being selfish. Like if you want to look at it from a selfish perspective, if you block that alley defender and we get a first down, that's more play opportunities and more likely that we're going to throw a pass, right?
That's funny. That's a great point.
Or you talk about limiting opportunities. Like, what are things that can limit your opportunities? I've had a bunch of talented receivers at a bunch of different programs, and they didn't play as much as they wanted to because they couldn't be on the field in certain situations, right? Like, do you want to be the reverse and the jet guy? And those guys hold a place. Do you want to be the return reverse jet gadget guy? Great. But, a lot of times those guys aren't able to be in situations on base downs. Here's another thing that limits opportunities, your understanding of the scheme, like we said. And the last one, to answer your question from before, one that we got to get better at, is we got to be able to run for days. Our condition, the guys that it's a long foul ball, it's an incomplete pass, and I'm tapping because the next guy's in. What made some of those guys you guys mentioned before great was it didn't matter where the ball was and what the result of the play was. They were back for the next play. And if they were slow back, I tried pulling the guys. There were some guys who wouldn't let me pull them.
Yep.
Right. So I think blocking, understanding a scheme and your conditioning are things you never limit opportunities for yourself.
I remember hearing stories about AB doing that in practice. He'd catch a slant, house it 80 yards and he's hustling back to get literally get into the next play. And sometimes they would just have to hey man, just, take a play. But that's the type of work ethic and hustle that he had, was being willing. Cause again, it goes back to, if that's what if your goal is to be able to be a game breaker like that, don't you got to practice it? Don't you got to rep it? And don't you got to be in shape for it?
Yeah. It all comes back to no, he's good, but right. No, he's good, but he's not conditioned. No, he's good, but he doesn't block. If I know what a lot of these kids' goals are. I think most of these kids that are playing college football have similar goals. If your goal is to be all conference, all American, whatever, you've got to work every day to be elite at everything we've spoken about today, right? And some of these kids have goals to play after college. It's too competitive now. There can't be a blank spot on your resume as a wideout. right? Like you have to work to be elite at everything. And there's ways to do it. It's just a matter of, are you willing to put the time in?
That's it, man. I mean, plain and simple, and as you were kind of saying, like the higher the level, the smaller that gap becomes. Like you have to separate yourself somehow. Like, in high school, you may be way more talented than a lot of guys, but it's the higher the levels, man, that talent gap just shrinks. So what's going to separate you? The willingness to do things that others aren't, the work ethic, the whatever, the fitness, however you want to put it, but you got it. You have to separate yourself for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Joe, this was awesome, man. You are the first guest on the pod, man. The first. This is incredible.
Yep. We appreciate you, man.
No, I'm honored, guys. I feel like we spoke about a lot and spent a lot of time, but said nothing. I don't know if we gave any answers, solved any problems, in detail enough for anything, but it was just great to spend time with you guys.
You know what though? Like one of the things Mike and I talked about when we wanted to do this, right, was, it needed to feel casual and like just like if we were like met out at the clinic, convention or whatever, just talking ball. And I think that's what it was. So there was a lot of, just thinking, I'm right now thinking back at some of the things you said, and there was some super valuable information in here. So it may have sounded like we were kind of bouncing and doing some laps before we got to the answer, but I think it was great. I think it was great. And this is exactly the type of conversation that Mike and I, wanted to have when coaches came on here. And even with each other, man, we just wanted to be as casual as possible.
I can say authentically, every time I've seen you guys outside of football, camp, clinic, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's exactly what
It
we
really
just
is. It really is, no doubt.
Hey, Joe,
100%.
right? Like the best stuff is like at the AFCA, we just find a room to the side, a bunch of coaches go in there, we're on the whiteboard, just chopping it up, man. Just talking all this stuff. And it's just free conversation. It flows the way it flows.
Yeah, and a plug to you guys. I've recruited your guys. I've coached your guys. I've had your guys in whatever programs I've been in. I really appreciate you guys, what you guys are doing for the space, the position, the game, the players that you guys impact. I think the coaches that are in this for the right reason, it's to change young people's lives in the positive. And I think we're all doing that, whether it's
Yes, sir.
route running or whatever. So
Yep.
yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
This
you.
was fun.